Apollo 1 mission was led by three of the most experienced astronauts in the United States in 1967.
Morning in 1967, when three astronauts walked out to face the cameras.
NASA knew the spacecraft wasn't ready. The astronauts felt it, and still, they sealed the hatch.
Capsule was waiting. Once the men were inside, the capsule would be pressured.
All three astronauts were burned alive inside the spacecraft before the rocket even left the ground.
I thought I heard somebody say, we're on fire.
This is the most horrifying ground accident in the history of spaceflight.
There's never been a full...
Chapter 1. The place where nothing was supposed to go wrong. January 27, 1967, Cape Kennedy Air Force Station, Brevard County, Florida, United States. A launch pad facing the Atlantic Ocean. Above it stands a rocket, Saturn I AS-204, height 55.6 meters, diameter 6.6 meters. Total mass, approximately 510,000 kilograms. But today, there will be no ignition, no countdown, no telemetry broadcast to the world, no cameras rolling. This is not a launch, this is a ground test, a plugs-out integrated test. Meaning, the spacecraft disconnects from all external power sources and relies entirely on internal batteries, systems, and life support, as if it were already in orbit, simulating flights and while still sitting on Earth, controlled, contained, safe, or at least, that's what the procedure says. At the top of the rocket, Command Module 012, NASA designation CM002, Block I Apollo Command Module. Inside it, three men, Virgil Ivan Gus Grissom, born April 3, 1926, Mitchell, Indiana, U.S. Air Force test pilot, second American in space, command pilot of Gemini 3, total flight hours over 4,600. Edward Higgins White II, born November 14, 1930, San Antonio, Texas, U.S. Air Force officer, first American to perform EVA, Gemini 4, time outside spacecraft, 23 minutes. Roger Bruce Chaffee, born February 15, 1935, Grand Rapids, Michigan, U.S. Navy Lieutenant Commander, test pilot, first assigned space mission. Three men, selected for precision, discipline, and reliability, because this mission, AS-204, was meant to become Apollo 1, the first crewed step toward landing humans on the moon. Chapter 2. The atmosphere that changed everything. 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The crew enters the command module. The hatch is sealed. Inside, the environment is controlled, but not like Earth. There is no nitrogen, no 78% inert gas balance, only oxygen, 100% oxygen. Cabin pressure, 16.7 psi. For comparison, Earth atmospheric pressure, 14.7 psi. Mercury missions, about 5 psi oxygen. Gemini missions, about 5 psi oxygen. This is more than 3 times the oxygen pressure used previously. NASA chose this system for engineering simplicity. Fewer valves, reduced weight, proven system in earlier missions. But at high pressure, oxygen becomes dangerous. Flammability increases exponentially. Materials that resist combustion become accelerants. Inside, CM02, Velcro strips covering large interior surfaces, nylon netting, polyurethane foam padding, Kapton and Teflon wire insulation. Velcro alone covered multiple square feet of interior space. Every piece of fabric, every cable, every surface is now fuel. Chapter 3. The machine was not ready. The Apollo Command Module was built by North American Aviation. Primary facility, Downey, California. By late 1966, internal reports identified serious issues: poor wiring routing, inadequate insulation protection, environmental control system leaks, coolant leaks, poor workmanship in assembly. A report noted, "Spacecraft is hazardous." Astronaut Gus Grissom reportedly hung a lemon on the simulator. His message was clear: this spacecraft was not ready, but the program could not slow down. Chapter 4. The pressure above everything. 1961. President John F. Kennedy addresses Congress. Before this decade is out, landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth. This becomes national policy. By 1967, the United States is competing with the Soviet Union. Soviet achievements: Sputnik, Yuri Gagarin, first human in space, Voskhod missions. Every delay in Apollo means losing ground. NASA faces pressure from the White House, Congress, public expectations, internal deadlines. Apollo 1 must move forward. Chapter 5. Hours inside the capsule. January 27, 1967, Cape Kennedy Air Force Station, 1 p.m., crew ingress. The astronauts enter Command Module 012, mounted on top of the Saturn YAS-204 rocket. Technicians from NASA and North American Aviation assist them through the White Room access arm. Each astronaut is wearing the Apollo Block IA-7L pressure suit connected to oxygen umbilicals, cooling systems circulating water through liquid cooling garments, and biomedical sensors transmitting heart rate and respiration to ground monitoring systems. They are positioned in couches specifically molded to their bodies. Virgil Gus Grissom, left seat commander. Edward H. White II, center seat senior pilot. Roger B. Chaffee, right seat pilot and communications operator. The hatch is sealed, a 3-layer system: inner pressure hatch, outer hatch, and boost protective cover. Once sealed, the cabin becomes a closed system. Cabin atmosphere: 100% oxygen. Pressure: 16.7 pounds per square inch. This is higher than Earth's atmospheric pressure, 14.7 psi. Inside this environment, materials begin absorbing oxygen at a molecular level. Velcro, nylon, foam, wiring insulation all become increasingly flammable. 2:42 p.m. First hold. Communication issues begin almost immediately after power-up. Observed problems include static and audio loops, interference between communication circuits, and signal instability between capsule, launch pad, and mission control. Communication network involves Launch Control Center, Mission Control Center in Houston, Texas, and ground relay antennas. Chaffee attempts troubleshooting, switches communication modes, tests alternate circuits, problems persist. 5:40 p.m. Additional delay. The countdown is halted again. By this time, the astronauts have been inside the capsule for over 4 hours. Still strapped in, still breathing pure oxygen, still inside a sealed environment. Cabin conditions remain stable, but chemically, they are changing. Oxygen saturation increases across all surfaces. Fabric materials, Velcro strips lining equipment panels, electrical insulation, and plastic components. The environment becomes progressively more volatile. The astronauts remain seated. Grissom, left couch, White, center, Chaffee, right. Suit pressure systems remain active. Life support systems continue circulating oxygen. Grissom becomes visibly frustrated. At approximately 5:50 p.m. he says, "How are we going to get to the moon if we can't talk between 2 or 3 buildings?" This reflects a deeper issue. Systems reliability is already compromised. Time passes. Total duration inside capsule, more than 5 hours. The environment grows more dangerous with every passing minute. Chapter 6, The Moment. 6:31:04 p.m. A transmission cuts through static. Fire? This is Roger Chaffee. Less than a second later, we've got a fire in the cockpit, followed by rapid escalation in voice intensity. Location of ignition, lower left side of cabin beneath Grissom's couch near environmental control unit wiring bundles. Cause, electrical arc, likely due to damaged wire insulation, friction against metal structural components, and exposure of conductor. In a normal atmosphere, minor spark. In this environment, 100% oxygen at 16.7 psi. Result, instant ignition. Flame does not spread slowly, it accelerates immediately. Chapter 7, Fire Dynamics. Within 2 seconds, flame spreads across interior surfaces. Velcro ignites first due to high surface area and flammability. Within 5 seconds, nylon netting, foam padding, and wiring insulation ignite. Within 10 seconds, temperature exceeds 500 degrees Celsius. Toxic gases released: carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and burning plastic fumes. Within 15 seconds, entire cabin engulfed in fire. Flashover occurs. Entire enclosed space becomes simultaneously involved in combustion. Pressure rises rapidly, 16.7 psi, over 29 psi. This pressure increase exerts massive force on the hatch. The hatch is now sealed shut by internal pressure, not electronically, not mechanically, by physics. Chapter 8, The Attempt. Ed White reacts immediately. He initiates emergency hatch opening procedure. Steps required: release inner hatch locking mechanism, remove inward opening pressure hatch, clear outer hatch layers, and open exit pathway. Estimated time under normal conditions: 90 seconds minimum. Available time: less than 20 seconds. White attempts to pull the hatch inward, but internal pressure is pushing outward with thousands of pounds of force. The hatch does not move. Grissom likely attempts system control or communication. Chaffee continues transmitting briefly, then stops. There is no fire suppression system inside the cabin, no emergency depressurization system, no backup escape mechanism. Only seconds remain. Chapter 9, Silence. 6:31:19 p.m. Final transmission recorded. After that, complete silence. No voices, no movement, no further communication. Inside the capsule, fire continues consuming materials. Oxygen feeds combustion. Heat damages internal structures. Within approximately 30 seconds, major combustion phase ends. Crew incapacitation estimated within 15 seconds. Cause: inhalation of toxic gases. Loss of consciousness occurs rapidly. From the outside, the spacecraft appears intact. No explosion, no visible structural failure, only silence. Final chapter and when the hatch opened. Time to access hatch, approximately 5 minutes. Ground crew responds immediately after hearing transmission. Personnel include pad technicians, NASA engineers, and emergency response team. Challenges faced: high internal pressure, complex hatch system, and heat damage. Tools required to open hatch. Sequence takes several minutes. Finally, the hatch opens. Inside, everything is blackened, walls charred, panels melted, wiring exposed, control systems destroyed, and the crew, still in their seats. Grissom, left, White, center, Chaffee, right, strapped in. No evidence of successful escape, no movement beyond initial attempt. Exactly where they started, because there was never enough time. Apollo 204 review board formed immediately. Findings: primary cause, electrical ignition in oxygen-rich environment. Contributing factors: 100% oxygen at 16.7 psi, flammable materials throughout cabin, faulty wiring, poor quality control at North American Aviation, inward opening hatch, and no emergency escape system. Crew incapacitation estimated within 15 seconds. Cause of death: asphyxiation due to toxic gases. They didn't die because of one mistake. They didn't die because space is dangerous. They died inside a system where multiple known risks were allowed to exist at the same time. And in the end, those risks needed only one spark.